The Hill's Bob Cusack is with us, Democratic strategist, Michael Starr-Hopkins, and the Independent Women's Forum's Patrice Lee Onwuka. Patrice, what do you make of what essentially Mr. Penn was saying, that, you know, Democrats might have fumbled on these two key issues?
I think he's absolutely right. If you read the progressive headlines this afternoon, they're saying that Democrats caved on principle, and they're taking a lashing from their base for that. You know, there's even a vigil for DACA recipients, you know, because they feel like they've been run over because of this deal. So I think Democrats, you know, we've seen their lead in even generic polling evaporate from double digits to probably 5 points right now. They took a really big risk, and they realize now that it really wasn't worth it.
All right. By the way, we were noticing that Senator Elizabeth Warren appears to be a no vote, voted thumbs down on this issue. So not everyone's going to be for this, even though it got 81 votes early, the procedural effort that sort of paved the way for this. Michael, as a Democrat who wants to sort of find a reasoned middle ground, was this it?
No, this wasn't. The idea that we being both Democrats and Republicans, allowed the government to get shut down, and then now we don't have a DACA agreement still. Listen, it's time for Democrats to grow a goddamn backbone at some point. We offered up the wall to President Trump. You know, we made concessions, and to still walk away without 800,000 Americans having a protection that was promised to them. You know, if Democrats don't want to fight, then let's find some people who will, because there are people like me, and there's people all over the country who are determined to make a principled fight. And Democrats caved on this one. They're right.
All right. Well, you better watch your language, young man. But Bob, the one thing I might look at here is this is essentially the same thing that Republicans and Democrats were looking at little more than a week ago. Let's get DACA on the table. Let's talk about it. Let's commit to doing something on that. But let's not shut the government down over this. Let's reopen it and do that. So on that point, Michael has a point.
Yeah, no, I mean, you think about the votes. On Friday, this bill, only 5 Democrats voted to advance it. And basically the same bill today, over 30 Democratic senators voted for it. They didn't get much out of it. Now, Democrats won the shutdown battles of Clinton and Obama, and maybe Democrats were a little overconfident because Republicans won this shutdown battle without a doubt.
You know, Patrice, I have another crackpot theory, and you all have endured them over the years. But one is that on the tax cut, I do see the sentiment shifting a little bit. That's not surprising. Tax cut sort of views go from cynical to a little bit more positive as they work their way through the system, particularly when people see them. And I'm wondering whether that's something, to Mark Penn's point, that Democrats should worry about. Not a one of them voted for it, and it might come back to hurt them. What do you think?
I think it's possible. You know, the challenge is that Democrats didn't expect companies to respond in the way that they did.
Yeah,
when you look at the bonuses.
By the way, that's a very important distinction. They expect the margins that but companies with such a curse of riches, they're sharing it in ways unimaginable. But go ahead.
Exactly. And so when Americans read, you know, in their favorite outlet that this company added this many jobs, or it gave away $1,000 bonuses to thousands of their employees, even small companies who expanded their worker base by 1 or 2, all of a sudden it pushes back on the narrative that they heard from a lot of Democrats that this was going to be doom and gloom. You know, and we all know Nancy Pelosi's comments about these being crumbs. But, you know, for a lot of people, a $1,000 bonus is not a crumb, nor is a $2 pay increase. And so I think Democrats really went out on the wrong limb, and they didn't have a positive forward-thinking message. You know, empowering people, giving them more money is a really positive message. Being anti-Trump is not.
Well, let me just point out, I'll agree that the tax bill will be successful once we see wages increase. Average Americans aren't invested into the stock market in an overwhelming majority. So when average Americans start to see increases.
You're wrong about that, Michael. Average Americans take advantage through their pension, everything, and their security and their own plans at work. But
through mutual funds. But I'm talking about private investors, just the average American feeling like.
What about the 3 million plus Americans who are getting bonus checks out of the blue? It hasn't even filtered to individuals yet, and the companies are doing it.
Which is true. They are getting bonuses, but they're seeing their health care costs increase. They're seeing other costs increase.
That wasn't happening under Barack Obama?
Not happening at the same level. So now we're going to have to look at a long term. You know, we can't just look at a snapshot. Let's see in 6 months, in a year, 18 months, where we're at.
All right. Well, Bob, I'm looking at all of this, and my own view, and I could be out to lunch, but again, this is the same guy who said that I could see Donald Trump winning the presidency, and people laughed at me, so you better not laugh at this. I don't see the Republicans losing the House or the Senate. In fact, I think they more than hold on. What do you think?
I think it's going to be a challenging fall. No doubt, they're going to lose seats. It's just a matter of how many. And I do think
all I'm saying is they will keep control.
I think the Senate is probably going to stay in Republican hands. The House, I think, is a toss-up, but it all depends on the popularity of the tax law. And I think Democrats are going to have to answer the question: if you're running the House and/or Senate, would you repeal those?
All right. We'll have to watch it very closely, but that will be instrumental to see. We have a long way to go, as all of these folks would no doubt remind me, until November. But I'm telling you. The consensus all runs one way and is looking very cynically toward November. I don't know. All right, guys, thank you all very, very much.